Well, hello, friends. It's Danny Deals here. Thank you for tuning in to Un Poco Mas, the show where we give you just a little bit more. On behalf of Hurricane Lopez and Stock Karen, we would like to say hello and welcome and welcome and hello. Happy Monday. It is Juneteenth. June 19th, 2023. Time's about 9 a.m. Of course, markets are closed today for the holidays, but that's not going to stop us from bringing you an exciting update on the NIO stock, ticker symbol NIO. Guys, as you know, NIO went all the way down to $7 and has since popped up, closed at $9.40 last Friday, down about 4%. Had made a really nice run there off the lows. Um, what's going to happen with the stock, guys? What's going on? What developments can we expect? Can we really expect this ramp in the second half of the year? Management has been reaffirming guidance for production numbers that seem highly unlikely given where production has been so far this year. But we also see that sort of the rollout of new models, the ES6. There's some new models that are finally out, finally being released into the wild. The sales are starting. So I think a lot of us are hoping that NIO is done for just a minute, releasing new models of cars, and they are going to concentrate on producing more cars at a lower cost and actually getting more cars on the road to take advantage of all of their infrastructure investments and all of their investments in the engineering and the R&D. Let's face it, guys, none of this stuff means anything if you don't actually sell cars. So, basically, what can we expect from the NIO stock? Of course, in the news, Motley Fool is always, generally speaking, very bullish on the NIO stock. NIO, EV in general has been doing very well. If you've seen, Tesla had gone all the way back down to like 150, and it's just absolutely ripped up to 260. Lee has been doing very, very well. Even Xpeng has XPEV has come up, even though its numbers, like NIO, have been very, very low in terms of production. So, guys, what can we expect to see? Just taking a look at the chart, guys. This was our short-term wedge here in light blue that has basically been in effect since like last November, and this wedge we just broke out of it. As you can see right here. This line I drew a long time ago before this breakout, I think. Basically, we had a long term wedge coming in here in pink that we'd already come out of and then, retested. And then we had a shorter term wedge here in blue. And these were both coming to a head. So you could see the stock winding tighter and tighter. This was important because it tested this upper bound once, twice, three times, four times, five times in a row, tested the lower bound once, twice, three times, four times, five times, six times, seven times before the breakout. So this was a really accurate upper and lower bound, and then we broke out of that. Critically, the 50-day moving average was exactly corresponding to that line right here, came out above it. Now, we do have a big red candle pulled us down last Friday, but I believe the stock is going to continue to go up through $13.44. And I believe that just based on the price action of the stock. If you can see, that was sort of a support level all the way back in, oh, what would have that been? Like, a couple of times actually, going all the way back to March 2022, then again in May 2022. Obviously, came roaring through that level. Didn't find any support until oh God, what's this level? I don't know, $9.30 or something, but the chart is speaking to me and saying, we've retested this line, seven times. It's just, I don't think we're going to break back down below $7, guys. I don't see it. There's been too many positive developments. This is kind of where you get into how does the market price stocks. Like the market has decided it's going to price EV stocks by units produced. Basically, they're saying this is how the company is doing based upon how many units they're making. And if you're a company that makes very few models, like a Rivian or a Lucid or something like that, or an Xpeng, I could see that model sort of being fitting, because that is telling you how you're doing. You have a charging infrastructure, but basically all you do is build that model of car, and your only job was to perfect that model and then build it and sell it. um, even Tesla is basically focused on the Model Y and the Model 3 for a number of years, guys. They don't sell many S's or X's. They don't sell many semis. They haven't sold any Cybertrucks. For years, their focus has been to just sell that one car, basically. The Model 3 and the Model Y are basically the same platform, same vehicle, but just sort of a different configuration, different body. That's at least how I view it. You could correct me if I'm wrong. I do like Tesla, the company. I've been invested in it for a long, long time. But also, I think NIO, the pricing just does not reflect everything this company is doing. The foundation they built, the battery swap infrastructure they're building, the charging infrastructure they're building. They're investing in many, many different types of vertical integration, from building their own chips to building their own batteries to researching batteries to autonomy. It just goes on and on, guys. And to just give you a quick idea what we're talking about, Neo Capital upsbet on ARM CPU startup CIX Technology. Neo was one of the original investors in this company. They basically took the impetus. The founder of this company worked for, was high up with AMD in China, and he looked at Apple building the M1 chip, and he basically said, like, this is the future. Like, you have to own your own chips, you have to design your own chips. And Neo was one of the original investors in the company. And then in a Series A, upped their stake, and basically, purchased their allocation, I guess you could say. Um, when more funding comes in, if you don't want to be diluted and have a smaller stake in the company, of course, you have to participate in that round of funding, either at the ratio you were at or at a higher ratio. So you see, Neo is a very forward-looking, innovative company that is trying to not just pump their sales and pump the stock price in the short term. It's pretty clear they don't have much interest in that at all. But in fact, they are trying to build a long-term powerhouse of a company, I believe, to compete with Tesla on a global scale. I believe that's the plan of the Chinese government. I wouldn't be surprised if at a certain point the Chinese government basically pulls the rug out from under Tesla and says, like, look, if the US government is going to put all these, import taxes, different tariff, different stuff, they're basically going to, rob Tesla blind. I think, Elon Musk's position with the Chinese government is not nearly as secure as he might think it is. I think the Chinese government is going to do whatever is best for China and makes China more powerful. I don't think it's any mystery that the Chinese government basically saved NIO from going bankrupt some years ago, and manufactures their vehicles, builds their factories. They enjoy sort of a privileged position vis-a-vis the Chinese government, and different levels of the Chinese government plan to buy their cars for their use, police, executive police cars, politicians, all that type of thing. So I believe China wants more nameplates, domestic nameplates, luxury that can compete in Europe and the United States, and can compete with any products that the Germans or Americans build. Obviously, BYD is going gangbusters. They outsell Tesla by magnitudes in China, many, many times the EV sales of China, but they're at a lower price point, lower, so NIO more directly competes with Tesla, and that's why I think they have these ambitions to go worldwide. I think China wants the Chinese, government wants NIO to be out all over the world, competing sort of as basically a measure of prestige and projecting the economic power and innovation and technology prowess of the entire nation. So that might be a little bit, over the top, but I just believe NIO is very important to the government of China. So NIO testing its new EC6. This will be the last vehicle switching from the NT 1.0 platform to the 2.0 platform. It's already been testing. It's already been registered with the government. So this is kind of, people are saying this is kind of what I mean by focus. Um, do you really need two of these coupe type SUV cars? They already just came out with the EC7, which will have RMB 458 or RMB 548,000 with or without battery, basically. The new EC7 is not the NT 2.0 version of the EC6, which is expected to offer a lower price point and meet the needs of the group that prefers this type of vehicle. So, guys, deliveries of the ET7 just began on May 20th. That's less than a month ago, and we already have, you know, another model switching over, guys. I know these rounded off sort of coupes are very, very popular, the coupe SUV. But do you really need two of these guys? No other EV companies even have one, and then we also have that station wagon, which is like the ET5 variation. Guys, how many coupes, SUV type coupes, station wagons, SUVs? It's like I think NIO now has like five station wagons, SUVs. It's guys, we're not selling units. I just don't see it. Can I think they should take the more affordable of these, like the EC6, and just focus on that one, guys. Mass market, the more affordable, tiny bit smaller one is going to sell way, way better. It's just ET7 versus ET5, guys. Focus on the ET5. That's what Tesla did. That's why they were able to ramp. That's why they were able to scale. That's why they've jumped out to a worldwide lead in terms of the EV technology, EV manufacturing. That's why everyone is chasing Tesla, guys. Think about it. Why are we building so many models when we're not reaching any type of scale, when we're not able to manufacture any of them? We're not selling a lot of vehicles. You're not able to take advantage of the charging or battery swap infrastructure because we're simply making a paltry amount of vehicles and we're a nothing burger in terms of NIO. So, guys, the new ES6 review, I believe ES6 is a game changer for NIO. It's a more affordable SUV that's going to appeal to a hugely wide audience. Of course, Horanju, who we all know, Touchdown Horanju, we call them in college, previously a member of NIO's PR team in China. So, take this with a grain of salt. But we're on the launch of the NIO ES6 with over 127,000 units sold. The ES6 was and is, by the looks of today, always be NIO's biggest seller. So I know I've said the ET5, some people were unhappy with some of the compromises NIO because of the battery swap system. For example, the seat height, I think the ride is a bit too harsh, but they don't think there's enough room in the back. And guys, this is one of the things with the battery swap architecture. It's not all roses and rainbows. It also requires certain compromises in how the vehicle is built and configured, because you have to have more room in there than just a battery, which is just there permanently, because you have to have all the things to fix it and plug it in, and you have to have clearances, and it just has to be designed a certain way. You have to have a bigger cavity there in your skateboard. But in the moment, you'll see some of the performance footage we did, low rolling resistance. This vehicle is just critical. This vehicle is just critical to NIO's future. I believe it's a very good looking vehicle. I think the roof line is a nice compromise between, sporty and room. It reminds me a lot of sort of the Infinity design, that curve that Infinity uses. Very good looking vehicle. Pioneered by Porsche Pan America, is also present on the Range Rover. Also provide an aerodynamic benefit because once you hide all these pillars away, the airflow from the A pillar. So basically, it has A 0.25 drag coefficient for this relatively boxy SUV. This is not a coupe SUV. We will find the coupe SUV has a lower drag coefficient than this, but you will not find another traditional upright SUV that is as slippery as this. Guys, the way Tesla designs, they design these cars that a lot of people think are kind of strange and ugly looking if you compare them to more traditional cars that are designed more for looks. NIO's been able to kind of split the baby and make extremely efficient aerodynamic vehicles that are also great looking. And I think car guys, car people, people who are more concerned about that cool factor will be very, very interested in these cars, both in Europe and hopefully eventually in the United States if you are a NIO investor. The ES6 has all the cameras and LiDAR of the other NT 2.0 models. Also will have all the capabilities we showed you in the earlier ET7 NOP Plus video. And of course, it can battery swap. They did a quick swap on the way over here. The new ES6 about 50 millimeters lower in height compared to the previous generation, which is actually quite significant. Yeah, that is a big difference. So that's why the car, I believe, is so aerodynamic, among other things, called the departure curve being integrated in the design. Basically, they're trying to make this thing as efficient as humanly possible. And from the drag coefficient to everything else, the wheels, it was all thought out, guys. So they're trying to compete with the X3. They're trying to compete with Range Rover, and they think they've built a better mousetrap here. So guys, I encourage you to read this review, watch the video. Obviously, if you speak Chinese, and you can get a hell of a lot more information because obviously NIO is primarily selling in China. They are a Chinese company. So to those of us in the United States, we're kind of gathering information as we can, but we don't have firsthand accounts. I have spoken to some people in China, and NIO is just a brand apart. Like this, even though they're not selling a lot of units, they are very, very well known and very sought after, and their brand, their model, it's actually working. It's just going slower than we want it to. But I think they are going to ramp in H2. I think they have to. I think everything's set up. They built the foundation. And I think now is the time this stock is going to shine. I think the breakout is actually going to come. We're starting to see it already, guys. Is this the same as these other breakouts that are just going to fail and pull back down again to this line, which would be somewhere in the $6.50 region? I don't think so, guys. I think we're going to catch this 200-day moving average right here at about the $10.85 level, and then break out through $13.44 on the back of increasing production numbers as we go into Q3 and Q4 of this year. NIO management has been promising huge increases in the number of cars they're putting out. All of the foundation has been laid. Now we just have to see if they've learned from some of their past missteps, if a little bit of the arrogance has come out of the company and the management, and if they're really ready to buckle down and do the work of producing cars, because that is the only way us shareholders are going to see our, the stock price go back up. So I do expect, guys, we are going to, sorry about that, moving the wrong thing. I do expect we're going to come back, stay above this trend line that we broke out, stay above the 50-day moving average that we've gone through. I think we're just coming down temporarily, but buying pressure will resume. I think the people in the know can see that NIO is going to be a player in China and Europe. They're not going anywhere. All this battery swap investment and architecture is not just going to be thrown away. And I think the only thing that makes sense is other companies that can't afford to build their own battery swap, can't afford to design and manufacture batteries and chips in-house. Some of these companies are going to end up partnering up with NIO. And I think, guys, we go up from here, but I'm bullish. I'm bullish NIO, been a long-term investor in the company, and that optimism remains, guys. There's a bit of a short on the stock, nothing crazy. Short score 65. Estimated short interest of the free float about 7%. Free float on loan 17%. Shares on loan 250 million. Days to cover is 5. Cost to borrow 0.76, and utilization at 47%. 10%. Guys, the analysts, moderate buy, looking for $10.33, only 10% upside. Edison U, reiterated the $13 buy. His target price has been much higher. He's been a NIO bull for a long time. Over at Deutsche Bank, Bank of America, again, reiterates a buy at $11. Ming is a very, very good top-rated analyst. Vijay Rakesh, also very good analyst. I don't know what his price target is. He reiterated a buy. So some of these analysts, I don't like to see JP Morgan downgrade, hold an $8.50. JP Morgan has been bullish on the NIO stock for quite some time. Remember, their price target was in the $19 range just recently. So that's not good to see. But guys, all the everything over on Seeking Alpha is negative. It's all kind of holds and why people aren't buying, why you shouldn't buy. Their factor grades: valuation D, growth F, profitability D minus, momentum D, revisions D plus. Guys, I mean, I really like NIO. I think they're going to get their act together, and I think they're starting to do that. But I don't think anyone can argue NIO's been executing well. It's been a little bit of a shit show, guys, and the stock price has reflected that. But the stock price recently has reflected some renewed optimism that NIO can come back and do well, and I share that optimism. I was buying the stock recently in the sevens and the eights. And I'm holding on to all my shares of the NIO stock, just waiting to see if management can ramp production in the second half of this year as they've promised. What do you think, guys? Tell me, where is the NIO stock going? Do you expect that production ramp? What models do you think will sell well? Do you think battery swap is the future, or will just be sort of a marginal part of the EV ecosystem? I think eventually it will become very important as people realize the power grid cannot support fast charging of millions and millions of new vehicles, as EV comes from just a few percent adoption, or 10, 15% adoption, to 100% adoption here in the next 15, 20 years. I think people are going to realize not only is EV going to be very demanding on the power grid, but companies like NIO that are innovative in terms of power management, power swap, they're actually going to be able to help the power grids in certain places thrive and survive, because some of these power stations are going to be smart. They're going to be holding a lot of batteries. They're going to be able to give power back to the power grid. They're going to be able to charge the EV batteries at times and at night when no one else wants power. So it's going to be cheaper, and it's not going to tax the power grid the next day. It's not going to tax the power grid during rush hour. You guys can imagine everybody wants to fast charge while they're at work. Everybody wants to fast charge at rush hour. This is going to be tremendously taxing on the power grid. That's why I believe long-term battery swap is a far more important solution than people realize. Even if charging gets faster and faster and faster, not everybody is going to be able to hyper fast charge all at once. It's just not possible. So I think battery swap is going to be a lot more critical than people now realize. I think Tesla and others made a huge, huge mistake rejecting the technology. And I think it's quite possible the Chinese government could mandate the technology and send the NIO stock price soaring. But time will tell, guys. My name is Danny Deals for Hurricane Lopez and Stock Karen. We would like to thank you for tuning in to Un Poco Mas, the show where we try to give you just a little bit more, guys. Tell us about the NIO stock down in the comments. What are your thoughts on NIO? Where do you think it's going? Talk to us about EV stocks in general, EV companies in general. Where do you think the industry is going? Certainly, very exciting time, very rapid transition taking place. There's going to be winners and losers. Certainly, Tesla is already one of the winners, especially if you count their stock price and how that's been over the past couple of years. Will NIO be one of the winners? Will it be a loser? Will it just be kind of an also-ran that hangs on? Personally, I believe NIO will be there at the end, but only time will tell. Guys, happy Monday. It's June 19th. Markets are closed today for the national holiday. We'll see what NIO does tomorrow, whether the rally it's been experiencing of late resumes after one big red candle on Friday, or whether the stock is pulled back down and this is simply another run that peters out. Guys, it's the NIO stock. It's Danny Deals. Thanks for tuning in. You guys have yourselves a great day.